So, with that, I will just give you a quick update. As a reminder, for those of you who may need reminding, we've got a lot of damage to the tower. You can see, if you look just from the outside visually, you can see a lot of tiles have come off, a lot of the shingles rather have come off, and a lot of the cladding has got holes in it, woodpecker damage, and just weathering. Hasn't been done for probably at least 40 years, is what we think. We're not exactly sure when it was all done, but it's at least 40 years, if not 50 years, since the shingles and cladding have been fully replaced. There's been repairs undertaken, which you can see, which have sort of we've got some patchwork, but it's really not satisfactory. So when we had the architects in at the end of last year, they basically said you need to get these shingles and cladding replaced, and similarly for the Lychgate. Because the problem is that the water is obviously coming through where the holes are in where the shingles are missing and where the cladding has holes. And when the water comes through, it's attacking the timber frame, which is holding up the tower. And as you all know, this tower was built in 1400, so it's a very ancient timber frame tower, and is it's Grade 1 listed tower, and according to Nicholas Pevsner, is the most impressive timber frame tower in the whole of England. So, and he was an expert in churches in the 1930s. So it's a very, very important church tower, and we need to look after it. So we need to get the shingles replaced and the cladding replaced as well. And the Lychgate, which is a bit more modern, I don't know exactly when it was built, but it's built in a similar style. And you can see from there the shingles on the Lychgate are also in a state of disrepair, and so that also needs urgent repair. So, based on that, we, as was mentioned in the Chairman's report, we engaged architects, the diocesan architects, architectural firm, to come and give us a statement of work and specifications, which they've done, which we paid, I think, about £4,000 for that work. And they produced a specification. And based on the specification, we then asked an official cost estimator to do an estimate of the cost based on that specification. That's what has been done. I apologise, this is probably a little bit difficult to read, but this is a summary of the report. At the total at the bottom is £168,000, and you can see that there's various large sums in there. There's a piece around sort of preliminary work and preparation of about £40,000, and that includes things like the scaffolding. So the scaffolding is £30,000 alone. So just to do the scaffolding for the work will cost £30,000. Because obviously they've got a scaffold all around the top of the church and right up the top of the spire. So you can see this is the breakdown. The next part is the timber treatment, which is £46,000, and that includes shingle replacements as well. That's the timber treatment and the re-roofing. So the shingles are a cost of don't want a pen. The shingles will cost nearly £20,000 to replace the shingles. But this sort of gives us an opportunity as well, because we can do things like sponsor a shingle, because there's probably about, I don't know exactly, we'll have to get an estimate of the number of shingles, but I think it'll be about 5,000 shingles or 4,000 shingles. So if we get people to buy a shingle for £5 or something, we can raise £25,000 that way or something like that, or put it on a Just Giving type of page. But these are the things we're going to have to think about doing, as well as the grants that I'll come on to in a minute. So you can see the timber treatment and so on, and cladding is 46,000. The cladding is another 26,000. That's the oak cladding that will go on, because we have shingles and then we have cladding around the flat bits, for a better word. And then there's various other items like a repair to Lychgate and some other things. And then you've got some sort of overheads and preliminaries, as they call it, and then the profit. So overall that comes to £168,000, and there's still some other things that aren't included in that, like contingency and obviously inflation. So my estimate is that we should put aside at least £200,000, because the other thing is, when they get up there and they start taking the shingles off, they will find damage to the timber frame and so on. They'll need to repair some things which will not have been anticipated. So
what you're saying at the moment, all that is just the equipment, the materials.
It's all the work as well. This is the cost of the materials plus the labour involved. Yeah, so it's all the labour as well. Yeah. So it's everything. But as I said, there will still be other costs that we won't anticipate or haven't anticipated. So as I say, that's nearly £170,000. If you add in, contingency, that's at least another £20,000 plus some other things. So as I said, it's at least £200,000 that we need to set aside or fund. And as you heard in the accounts, we've got about 50,000 at the moment. So we need at least another £150,000 and the other challenge is we really need to get that money in hand before we engage people to do the work. So we can go out and tender for the work, but once people have tendered their price, that will only be valid for 3 to 6 months at most, because obviously costs are increasing and everything else. So if we're not ready with the money, then we'll have to re-tender, and that costs money to tender. So we need to get ourselves the money or the grants established before we formally go ahead with engaging a supplier to do the work. So this is in summary then. Yeah.
Sorry, just for clarification, it's the PCC are going to be doing this work. They are also registered for VAT. The Friends will contribute towards the PCC for the money. So we will be assisting in raising and getting grants. It will be under the guise of the PCC. So Friends donate to PCC, PCC spend the money.
Yeah, that's right. We don't actually physically spend the money, we give the money to PCC to spend. Yeah. But the PCC rely on us to do all the legwork, as it were. Yeah, John.
You mentioned the cladding, the vertical cladding was oak. The shingles are going to be oak?
Material, oak, yeah, that is the plan.
The whole thing is going to be oak.
So the cladding is oak, and at the moment the shingles are going to be oak. But I think it will depend on when we get the quotes back. We'll probably get 2 quotes, cedar and oak. And we need to get the architects to confirm what they recommend as the best. Because there's, as you're probably aware, there's differences between the cedar shingles and the oaks and the shingles in terms of kind of life and there's some cost differences as well, but also lifetime. So it's different because some say that the cedar shingles attract woodpeckers and birds like that. So it's a bit of a black art really to decide which one to use. But we can make that decision based on together with the architects. So this is the status and the next steps really. So just to remind everyone, so we've done the specifications of works, which cost £4,500. We've obtained the estimated costs, £200,000. And now we're going to start applying for grants. So what I've done is I've started looking through the grants that are available, and Brian Root kindly given me a list of the sources of grants that the church in Willingdale used when they had their roof done, and a lot of them are similar. So I've been looking into a number of these. There's a number of church organisations that give grants. Generally though, those grants tend to have a maximum of up to £50,000. So we wouldn't get the full amount from one of those. So we'd have to apply for multiple grants. The other source, big source of funding for large projects is the National Lottery Heritage Fund. And so I've looked into that as well, and I've started going through the application process. But the tricky thing with that is that when you go into the detail of it, they have a number of specific outcomes that your project has to achieve. And I'll just give you some of their outcomes are. The first is, and these are mandatory, that a wider range of people will be involved in heritage as a result of the project. So when we're responding to the request, you have to answer these questions and describe how will this project ensure that a wider range of people will be involved in heritage. The next one is that the funded organisation will be more resilient. The next one is that people will have greater well-being. The next one is people will have development skills. The local area will be a better place to live, work or visit. The local economy will be boosted. Okay, so that's just to give you a flavour of the outcomes they're looking for from this project. So in order to write for this and get the grant, you've got to be very clever, smart about how you respond to all those questions and help them, help give them the answers they're looking for. So there's a number of people that we know who are quite good at this. The village hall has a lady called Gillian, who's very good at doing that for village hall. Within the church, we've had a lady called Steph, who does a lot of work with applying for grants. So these people are very adept at writing the kind of answers to those questions. So we'll need to bring people like that in to help us answer the question, because otherwise, I could write it, but I'll be doing it from scratch, and I may not get the exact right answer that they're looking for. So we need to get as much advice as we can on this. The other person I'm talking to is, or in contact with, is a lady called Sarah Odell, who's the Diocesan Heritage Support Officer. And her role is to help churches in the diocese with their applications for grants and things like that. So I'm going to be talking to her because I want to get her advice, because she may say, oh yeah, here's how you typically answer those kind of questions if you're a church. This is what we say. And so on. And she may be also able to point out other sources of grant funding, typically because within Essex there's a number of local charities and so on that support churches and other buildings, heritage buildings. So I'm sure she's got a good list that we can use. So it's really at that stage now where we start applying for grants. So it's quite a lot of hard work. It's not easy, and I've started on the road, but it will take a while. So anybody if you know anybody who's done this, then please let me know, or if you've got any thoughts and ideas. So Brian, thanks for your help on that. And the other part of this is we have to get a faculty. So the diocese, that's the sort of formal planning permission, if you like, from the diocese. And so Stuart Jennings has started on that. We've already kept the diocesan architectural committee, the DAC, informed and aware of what we're doing so far, and they're very aware and they're very supportive of what we're proposing. But we have to do a formal application, and we need to have a statement of significance and needs, which again is quite a complicated document explaining why you need this work done and so on. And so Stuart started on that, but I'm sure he'll need some help. And then when we've got a feel for where we are with the grants and we're making good progress on those, and we've got the faculty, then we will do the tender for the work. So that we'll issue that out to a number of approved construction firms and get bids back, and then we will choose the best one. And in fact, we will probably use the architect to help us do that, because they do that a lot. I think for like £500 they do that whole process of sifting and choosing the right contractor. So that's it. And in the meantime, we need to continue to raise funds and spread the word, get more members. As we said, we've got 140 odd members, but it'd be good to get more if we can. Get new houses built in the village, so maybe we can get some more members that way. But it's just, I think, really spread the word, as I said, and help us to raise funds. Any ideas will be gratefully received. I do think, as I said, we could do things like selling shingles and have a plaque up that says, these people contributed to the cost of repair of the roof. And if we do a Just Giving page or something like that, we can Because there's lots of people who've got connections to Blackmore, you know, maybe live abroad, live in the States or wherever, and so you know, we can tap into those people who may want to help the village. So that's where we are. Any questions?
Do you want an aspirin?
Do I have an answer?
Do you want an aspirin?
Sorry, yes, Stuart?
Richard, the scaffolding firm and the roofing firm, I can put it that way, are they specialists in churches or can they be anyone?
I'm not sure exactly. I think that whoever does any work on the church has to be in some way approved by the diocese. So yeah, I think the answer is yeah, they have to be an approved contractor for the diocese. Is that another question or any follow-up?
Yeah, I mean, I would see if it's open to a lot of different scaffolding firms and we can look at
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Isn't every engineer design scaffolding?
Yeah, that's part of in the cost. There's a cost for the design of the scaffolding as well. Yeah. John?
Is it your intention to engage a professional project manager?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think in the costings they don't include a professional project manager. So we probably need to think about that. It says, and this is one of the things I need to follow up with the people who've done the costing to find out what they've included, because it says construction site cost list of exclusions, no answer to be made in the following, and one of them was, it says phase them. So I don't know what that means, whether that's that we
You might find that the architect
can do that. Yeah. I mean, it says
I guess you're going to end up spending 40 minutes by the time you finish.
yeah.
It's a lot of money, and you know, for the best one in the world, what does anybody want to do about
No, you need
placing a major contract?
absolutely. No, it needs to be properly managed. Absolutely. So I mean, the building firm will do their manage their bits, but overall, the whole thing needs to be managed. Yeah. Okay. And that's why, as I said, I think, you know, it's a minimum of £200,000 we need to be thinking about, because there will be lots of costs like that haven't necessarily been included, and they will be substantial. Project manager.
Richard, does any of this involve match funding? So when we did the mock, we had to get to, that was around about £135,000. So we had to get to about £55,000 to £60,000. And then the Football Foundation came down and said, yeah, here's that half a month. And it sounds like you're well on the way to get 40 and some other stuff, but does that give you the capital to go and get a match funding from somewhere else?
I think in terms of match funding, we're in quite a good position, because a lot of the applications say how much can you contribute to this, and certainly for the bigger projects, when you get over 100,000, I don't think they're looking for exact matching. In other words, if it's 200,000, we have to find 100, and they all find 100. I think as long as you've got 20 to 50,000 of, you know, so in other words, a quarter, 25%, I think, you know, is definitely going to be acceptable. So I think we're in a good place to start with. Is the good news, but it's still a question of them, you know, finding the right grants and then having grant money available, because everything is being, you know, there's not much money around there. Everything's being squeezed.
And when it's completed, will it still revenue to pay back?
I don't think so.
Price and buildings down because of the bill.
Yeah. Well, we will see if the PCC can do something like that.
And our parish councils
Parish council, it's a good question. The parish council are aware, but we haven't really had any detailed conversations with them. It's good.
We've got them to support the mock.
Yeah.
And then we got a loan from the Public Works Loan Board for 10 years, 1.5% or something.
Yeah.
And then that's a business plan that goes with that. But they guarantee the line as being parish council. But then you've got to have a good argument of how you pay that loan,
Yeah.
which we discussed
Yeah.
on short term.
Yeah. And that's really the problem for the church, is we don't have that kind of guaranteed income. At the moment, you can generate revenue. We can't generate revenue. But our church,
I was going to ask you about legacies.
yeah.
It seemed what is actually a legacy?
So when somebody dies and they give us, in the will.
It seems to me that people would quite like to see the thing done before the profit close. So they could put their money aside as a guarantee into a pot that could be used to get the loan. No, they could be paid back when they die. That's something that goes on, and then they get to see the future work and know that their money's going to pay when they do that. That's
Yeah, I suppose that's
not
yeah. No. I think the tricky part of that would be is somebody could change their will at a later stage. So, yeah. But I think I've gone through. But yeah, good suggestion. Sorry, John, yeah?
The other one is the British Fair. Gives all.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. We need to talk to the village fair about it.
We probably need to talk to the ground line.
Yeah.
In fact, they might be prepared to make it the project.
Yes, that would be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, the old committee, go. Could you, yeah, that'd be good. And they've chosen a charity for this year, haven't they, for the coming? They haven't?
I'm not committee and I wouldn't say I'm that far up the responsibility of that.
Fairly early.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think
But yeah,
so.
that's definitely a good suggestion, and if we could.
It is one of the things that we need to do first.
Yeah.
I think you've got the publicity as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Put it in the program.
Yeah.
Put it all over the place.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Sponsorship.
Yeah. Well, exactly. You get hundreds of people coming through for the fair, so we can do the sponsorship on that. Okay, any other questions, or are we thirsty? Right, well, I'll be around if anyone wants any. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.